Hey, this is Kathy McAllister, T-Wife Creations. How are you guys today? I'm here offering the new seasonal, what is it? All of a sudden I forgot what I called my series. It's the Seasonal Sweetheart series, and it's whimsical girls, and I'm going to take my picture off here so that we can look at that. Let me go there, get rid of that, get rid of that. So, hi everybody, come on in. Hello Beth, hi Virginia. So come on in, thanks so much for joining me today. And so I just wanted to chat a little bit about how I created the Heart Girl. And so right now I have 3 in the series. I plan to offer more if there's interest. So she turned out to be one of my favorite. This is Colleen of the Clover. And Colleen is derived from girl in Gaelic. So I thought that'd be perfect. And I just called her Heart Girl. And this is Maisie of the Spring Meadow. I don't know why I called her Maisie, but I did. But I do like them all. They are all a little bit different. I tried to do the backgrounds just a little bit different for each one. So everyone has a little bit different color hair, a little bit different color eyes, a little bit different color sky. And but if there is more interest, I will continue to make like another 5 or 6 of these. But we'll see how you guys like them. But we're going to concentrate a little bit on Heart Girl today. Needed to come up with some kind of Valentine artwork. And I don't know, this just kind of came to mind. And then the other 2 just sort of followed. And it just seemed to be kind of natural. I don't know how you guys feel, but I love painting whimsical girls. I really do. And I wanted to say, too, that don't be afraid. Like some people are kind of nervous about starting and painting whimsical girls because, the skin, the eyes, get the tone and all that correct. But it's really, really easy, especially for us women. If we put makeup on, you're basically shading and applying the paint in a very similar fashion to what you would do if you were putting on your own makeup. And then the hair, it's just kind of building color. You add in some shading, you add in some stroke work, you add in some color washes, and you just build everything up. And it's a very enjoyable, and I think it's a very forgiving process too. You can go back and fix things if you don't like the way that it's turning out. So I have these laser cut kits, and this one's been painted on a little bit already. But if you do my patterns, you do not have to have a laser cut kit. So for instance, it's a digital e-pattern that's available on my website, but I have this whole page here, and I talk about things you can do if you don't have the laser cut kit. How can you make this work? Or how can you make this work if you want to do, a textured background, but you're going to be just painting it flat onto the surface? How can you work around that? So you don't have to do it exactly the way I did it. Or you can put it on different surfaces, canvas, watercolor paper, cards. So anything like that is possible with these designs. You can use them however you want. For instance, this was printed out on watercolor paper. So you could paint directly onto that. Or you could trace onto wood canvas and just do kind of a flat sky and flat hill. Maybe you throw in a bit of stencil work, or maybe you do a little bit of texture. So anyway, we're going to talk about some of those options. So I just wanted you to feel like, you can get this pattern and you can create it without having the laser cut kit. If you want the laser cut kit, it's on my website. So, all right. So if you are going to do the classes with me, and again, I have them coming up on March 13th and March 20th, one for Colleen and one for Maisie, that you'll need to have the background done if you're going to paint along. And what I did initially, and this is again, if you're using the laser cut pieces, it doesn't matter what you do to the background, because you're just going to be putting your elements on top of it. So you can make the background chunky. It won't matter because the elements are going to go onto that. All right. So what we would do before class, if you want to paint with me, is get to this point. And so we're going to apply gesso. Now this originally started where you had etched lines that you could see on my laser cut piece. So you can see that there's etched lines. And this is going to completely obscure those lines, but that's fine. But it does give you the flexibility, like if you were to get my laser cut kit and you didn't want to have the elements, or you wanted to save the elements and do two or whatever, you could use this as if you had just traced it and just paint flat, just paint normal directly onto this wood. So there's just lots of options I'm trying to give you with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do to achieve this look is I'm going to use a heavy gesso. Now, if you don't have heavy gesso and you just have the regular thinner gesso, that's fine. But this is a heavy white gesso, and you need a palette knife that's more like this, that dips down. The metal ones are great, but don't go out there and spend a bunch of money. Use what you have. These are the ones that are completely flat don't work very well. You need to have the ones with the dip in them. Yeah, so this one is a plastic one. Anyway, so that's the palette knife I'm using. And basically I'm going to butter this on. And the reason that you have to do it, okay, so it doesn't matter because I'm going to be using elements on top of this. I'm just going to cover the whole thing. And the reason that I have put the brown underneath, and you can use something like espresso or asphaltum back here. I use this product, Suede, Deco Art Suede, in coffee. And I don't know if they're going to continue it or not. Sandy might be able to tell us. But you can just use regular espresso, asphaltum, any dark color you have as the background. And the reason I did that is I wanted it to have this kind of aged look to it, right? So you're going to be working from the bottom of your palette knife. And so again, this is a thick gesso. If you have a thinner gesso, it will be, you won't be able to do this as much, but it still should be fine. So we're going to do the sky in more vertical, and then we're going to do the hill. We're going to follow the curve with the hill. Okay, so the suede won't be around much longer. That's what I kind of thought, because I saw it in their clearance area. It's a really cool product. Deb Bloomfield turned me on to it because she was telling me that she uses the suede color on her gingerbread painting. It just creates a really nice kind of texture that makes it feel like you're, doing gingerbread cookies. So, yeah, bummer. That always seems to be the way. Okay, so I'm just thinly spreading this like butter. And you want to make sure that you leave some of the brown spots showing through. And again, because I've got my elements that are going to be on top, I'm not going to worry. I'm just going over everything. But I do want to show you, like, if you don't have the laser cut elements, I also will show you how you can create texture for that as well on your background. So anyway, so you're just kind of, this is really fun, and it's very therapeutic, spreading that gesso on. And you do want to kind of remember where your line is. That's the only thing, that you can come back with your with the pattern or with the pencil and just mark that area if you obscure it, because you do kind of want to know where the hill is, because we're going to go a different direction for the hill. And this gesso, to properly dry and cure, you kind of need to give it overnight. So that's why I'm saying that it's really helpful if you want to paint along during my classes, that you have this part done before class, because it will dry, but you want to be able to paint on it and not have it move. And so just go back into areas where you feel like the coverage isn't as good as you want. And then ridiculous. Okay, so now I'm going to follow the curve of the hill here. So I'm still going to kind of start and stop a little bit. Okay. And that movement will help you to see where the skyline is. So just throw it down here. Okay. Yeah, it does. You're right, Denise. When the humidity is lower, we still are getting into the 30s at night. But, you know, a lot of times we'd get into the 20s at this time of year, and it's just not happening. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of all you have to do. And let it dry, and then we'd be doing the paint effects on the sky and the hill. Now, I wanted to show you some of your options. Okay, so say you've decided that, so say if you have an 8x10 and you've traced on your girl, so what I would do is I would trace the outline of the girl. I would block it in with buttermilk, block Sammy, the Siamese kitty cat, in with oyster beige. Then you can come back and do the details as you go. But say you had this. Well, you can do the same thing with this. You can come back with, you know, a bit of the asphaltum or espresso or whatever you're using, and just throw in some brown here and there. And like, I don't mind if like the hearts have a little bit of texture to them. I just wouldn't want her to have texture if you're doing it flat. So I would just come in and start randomly throwing in, you know, some of the brown. So that will be poking through a bit here and there. And just, you know, keep it off of her and keep it off of her. I wasn't supposed to do that. So you're just going to kind of throw it in here and there to do the background. This is just to give you an idea, depending on how you choose to paint it. I know not everybody is all that it is. You know, some people love laser cut pieces, and then others, you know, would prefer it to be flat onto their canvas. So that's up to you. So you can do something like that. And the other thing you can do is you can take something like mulberry paper. So you can use whatever color, white, anything light is okay. But whenever you tear mulberry paper, I think a lot of you know that if you get a brush wet, and see, I want to do it kind of straight like that. you dampen the mulberry paper, then it will tear better. So, but say if I wanted to add texture with mulberry paper. So I'm just going to tear up some pieces. So, wow, Bev, 30 in Michigan. I tell you, I know my son is in Boston. He's just been having crazy cold weather. It's made it difficult to get into work at times. Okay, so DecoArt has a matte gel as well. This is one I have on my site. It's from Thinnabear Art Basics, and this is what you use to do the decoupage hearts and to put like this mulberry paper down. So, for instance, let me see. I don't know if I have my hearts here. Well, let me show you this right quick, and then I'll try to dig out some of the hearts to show you how I did the decoupage onto the piece. Okay, so say I wanted to do texture, and I don't have gesso, or I don't want to use gesso, so you can come in with gesso and stencils. You can come in with a little bit of mulberry paper. So say you just throw it down here. My brown isn't dry yet, so but that's okay. So we're going to create texture with mulberry paper. And again, you'll come back and trace on the hearts where you want them to be. And I wouldn't worry too much if you have some texture underneath the hearts. I think that might be interesting. Just keep it away from the girl. So you can do stuff like that to create texture, and you can build it up. Like if you want it to be more texture-y than just one piece, you can come back and put more on. So you can do that, and try to get some in the hill without going onto the kitty. So something like this, and just play around with it until you kind of get a feeling that you like. Or if you don't like raised texture, you can just add on stenciling, washi tape, decorative designer papers. So anyway, it will build up some texture. And then I could even come back and put in some gesso around here. So then when, so I want to cover up, the brown needs to be completely dry, because we do want to try to cover some of this up, but I'll come back to it in a little bit, because I don't want to waste too much time just doing that. So now, hi Glenda. Well, thanks for coming in. Yeah. So I'll get to this when it's a little bit more dry, because what you want to do with your gesso is you still want only a little bit of it peeking out. So you do want to come back and cover up with your gesso in places. Just keep it off of your main characters. Hello there, this is Kathy McAllister, T-Wife Creations. I have some new stuff to show you. So I created a series, a year-long series. I haven't created every one of them yet, but I have a series of these cute women in a seasonal format. So this one with hearts is going to be like a Valentine or a year-round love theme, and she's got her kitty cat here, and all of this is cut out 3D. However, the way I will write the patterns, you will be able to do it flat. You don't have to have the laser cut pieces to do this. So you can certainly just follow the sketch and do it on a flat surface. Let me see if I can find my sketches. Hold on. So, alrighty, my sketches. Pull them out of here. So that is the Valentine one. So that will be part of the pattern that you would receive for her. And then for St. Patrick's Day, this has got to be one of my favorites. So that's the St. Patrick's one, and she has her milking cow. So she's got to go make some butter or some cheese for the family. So that's what it looks like, the 3D laser cut one. And then we have her with her bunny ears for Easter. And let me see if I can get her over here, her laser cut pieces. So that's what she looks like. So I thought that would be fun. And then there would be one for summer, one for patriotic, 250-year anniversary of the U.S., and one. So probably September is going to be a birthday one, which would be year-round that you could use. And October would be Halloween. November would be Thanksgiving, and Christmas then. So I would have, in addition to these 3, I'd have 6 more. That's the plan. That's the hope. So these are going to have palette backgrounds, so palette knife work. So the first thing I'm going to do with this background is I am going to put a base coat of either espresso or burnt umber or asphaltum, something like that. But I actually am going to use this DecoArt suede product, and the color is coffee, which is similar to espresso. And the reason I'm using this is it has a texture to it, and I'm going to be putting the gesso over the top of it, but I want some of the brown to show through. But you do not have to use the suede product. You will need a gesso to do knife work over the top, or a texture paste once this fully dries. But I was also going to show you these. If you get the kit from me, it will have these wood pieces. However, and I'll have some little pieces to go underneath here, like that, so that it doesn't flop over. So wherever you need it to pop up. And this one would definitely be, the wood piece would come here. But some of these that you might want to send some of them to the back. So some of them you might want to paint onto the surface, or another option you have is using paper. And you can fussy cut some out, but if you order a kit from me, I will give you the paper for the hearts. So I'll give you the wood piece and the paper piece for each one of these hearts. And you can determine, do you want that to be in the background? But you can also paint these. You do not have to use paper. I just thought it might be fun to incorporate more mixed media items into here. So I thought it might be fun to use paper and wood and whatever embellishments you want. So like this one, you may want to send to the back. This one, you may also want to send that one to the back. Maybe some of the smaller ones would be to the back, and have these two up front. And so you have to kind of make that decision as you go, as you lay this out. And again, you can paint these pieces, or you can use watercolor paper and put on here. You can use pattern paper, because it's pretty easy to fussy cut these pieces out. And you also, like if it doesn't line up perfectly, these were cut, mine were cut with a laser, and that's what you would be receiving from me. But like if you didn't like the paper I sent you, then you could cut your own. And paper, once you glue it down, paper can be sanded around the edges to get it to fit better. So if your fussy cut isn't even. So anyway, we'll be exploring that as we go. And, you know, we've got one that's got Easter eggs coming up. So you can decorate your own eggs, or you can use paper to decorate them. So you're not limited to what I'm providing you with. And like the ones that are in the foreground that you're using the wood pieces for, you can paint these, or you can cover them with paper, however you want to do it. So that's going to be your choice. But the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to put probably just one coat. I'll see how it looks. I'll let you know if I'm doing one coat or two coats of the brown, because you're going to be doing gesso on top. So you can use gesso, you can use a texture paste, like a plaster, or they've even got spackle stuff that you can get from you know, any kind of home improvement store that you would use on walls and stuff. You can use that too when we do our knife work. But the reason that we're putting the brown behind it is we want some of that brown to pop out, to kind of look like it's got some age to it. So as opposed to, well, I mean, you could use any color, but when you do palette work, you're not trying to completely cover every single piece of this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the brown on. So I did both sides. I was finding that the MDF was wanting to warp. So the 1/8 inch will want to warp if you don't do both sides. So you don't have to necessarily use the same color on the back, but you have to have some kind of paint or sealant. So that's my heavy body gesso in white. And so we're going to use our palette knife. I also have a silicone one. I'll play around with both of them. So I have the line where the hill starts and the sky begins. And you don't necessarily have to do the palette knife differently. But, oops, I got the wrong gesso. Let me put this aside a second. Okay. So basically we're just going to do quite a bit of knife work here. We do want to leave some brown spots here and there. And our gesso does not have to be thick. So once the gesso fully dries, this area up here is going to be blue sky. So the knife, it works better when you have this bend in it as opposed to the straight ones. This style palette knife is preferable for doing the knife work. So don't know. I might try to do the knife work going in a different direction on the hill. That might be interesting to see it if it's actually going in a different direction. And we are going to be doing paint over top of this, so it's going to want to change some of the brown. So even if you leave some more brown exposed than you were planning to, it still can be blue. We want to try to maintain some of the brown when we're painting, and we're going to play around with that. I'm not I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that yet. So this is my first attempt at doing this with my seasonal girls. I've done gesso backgrounds before, but usually the background paint is the paint that I want to have as my final paint. So like I'd have blue in the background, and I'd be doing palette over the top of the sky blue. But this time I'm trying something a little different. Hopefully it won't fail. Okay, so now I'm going to try to add it in as the curve of the hill. So all this was done with the back of the palette knife, back side of the palette knife. And you're pretty much holding it flat as you butter on this gesso. Okay, so I feel like I didn't bring it all the way down, which I should have. Okay, so all right, so now we have to dry it. So while the gesso dries, normally I would suggest allowing this to dry overnight. And I think for our class prep, that's what I'm gonna have you guys do, is do the gesso work ahead of time based on my video, and then it'll be ready to go the next day, because like it's really cold, and so even though it's not moving, once you spray onto this, it's going to pick up the paint differently than if it's fully dry. So I'm going to work on my characters by putting a base coat on. I'm going to start with using buttermilk and rolling it onto my girl, my heart girl. And I am out of buttermilk. I am really out of buttermilk because I have not ordered a replacement. I've got plenty of light buttermilk, but I am out of regular buttermilk. And I remembered that the last time I did some painting, I was like, oh, and I went and I looked and I was like, no, I have no other buttermilk, so I need to definitely need to put an order in. Well, I've allowed that to go much deeper into the score lines than I had wanted around the eyes. Oh well. Sometimes I can come and if I want to preserve some of those lines, I can come back with a little tool and try to clean that out. This is probably not thin enough. Sometimes I use an X-Acto. I'm just going to have to work with it the way it is. Okay. And I was going to do this little guy and sponge on some oyster beige. But since I have my roller out and it has buttermilk, I'm just gonna use, well, I really kind of want it to be oyster beige. I don't want it to be buttermilk, so I'll have to get my sponge. So a lot of times if you use rollers and sponges, it keeps some of the deep fill from happening in the score lines, but hey, didn't quite work that way. It's very uneven in regards to how it's covered. Okay, put my roller away. So oyster beige, and it has a little bit of grayish tone to it. So, and that's because I want my kitty to be a Siamese kitty, and I kind of want that tone. Buttermilk would work like if you were going to do an orange calico tabby, something that had warmer tones. And this is just a base coat, so you can do 1 or 2 coats, just so you're not seeing the wood, you know, the wood popping through the green of the wood. Like I can still see it there, so I might go over that one more time. Okay, so that's that. So for the Siamese cat, we want to start by shading with a lighter color, because I think that since it's a seal point we're painting, probably we'll want to go with traditional burnt umber. This one here is bittersweet chocolate. So you could use either or. This has a little bit of gray in it. So those are two options. But initially, we want to shade with something a little bit lighter, and then we'll build up the colors. So these are all kind of matching colors. You have a choice of Portobello or Pebble. So this one's just got a little bit more beige. This one's got a little bit more gray. Portobello has a little bit more gray. This one Pebble looks a little lighter too. I'm going to just try the Pebble. Anyway, just giving you a couple of colors, because I know sometimes you may not have everything. All right, so we're gonna probably end up doing all of the ears, because the ears are quite dark. And we'll come back and differentiate where the darker area is. The darker area is going to be the outside. But, okay. So, I'm going to do the traditional shading, but we also will come back and shade heavily around the face itself. And we could do it with kind of a color wash, but we're gonna just start this way. And so we want some shading around the neck. In between the legs, up against the legs. And the feet will be dark, so we're just gonna tap that in. And then the tail is going to be completely colored in. Okay. So then we're going to come back in. We're just going to basically get all this area around the face with the shading. I think I need to zoom in. Okay, so even this area here on the legs is dark. So we'll make it darker. We're just building, kind of building color. Just building the color here and there. So the whole face area is pretty dark. Maybe not so much under the chin, but I won't come in with the darker under the chin. So it's shading, but it's kind of like a color wash. Okay. So, going to try it with asphaltum. So asphaltum has that little bit of gray in it too. So try that. So asphaltum isn't quite as deeply dark as the traditional burnt umber. Okay, so we know this area here is going to be darker. And this is your first go round. We're going to come back and do more. Tail's pretty dark. So the legs are pretty dark. Trying to get this little, oops, I'm off camera. I'm trying to get this area up here to just feather off, and it's not really doing that. It's showing pretty, it's just awfully harsh. So I just want a little bit of that darker color underneath the neck. And of course we need a lot of dark color in there. I'm gonna come back in with my lighter, I think I was using Pebble. Put that in, I just put the toe in. I'm gonna do this. I just want a little bit more feathering effect here, so I'm gonna pull this down. Yeah, that softened it up a little bit, so it's not quite, there's not like this distinct line there anymore. I feel like there's no, I'm gonna get a little bit of the oyster beige that I started with. After I find it, there it is. I just don't like the way the legs are just too dark. So I'm gonna take the corner of my sponge, and you could do this with a little dry brush and just like stipple it. And I'm just gonna come back in and soften where the paint is meeting. So it doesn't look so much like just a crazy line. Oops, I got too wet. Now it kind of went the opposite direction. Okay. I'll let that dry and figure out what I want to do next with it. All right, so we need to work on the face area. So I'm going to take the asphaltum. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to build this color. So Siamese have that color in their forehead, like right between their eyes, and they definitely have it in their little cheek area and around their eyes. I keep going off camera. It's leaving like too much of a streakiness. So I'm gonna get a little blender brush. So first of all, I'm gonna come back with the pebble, and I'm gonna go in there and soften out where both the two colors meet, the darker color and the lighter color. So we're going to do that. I also want a little bit more color, more of the pebble in the ear. So, and then I'm going to move to my darker color, my asphaltum, and we are going to blend it into the tail because we know that is darker. And then we're going to come up here, we're going to add it in around the face, and we can go into the eye area because we'll be covering all that up. So I have a pretty thin blending brush here. It is a number 6. You could go with a number 4. So So we need to kind of get some sense and sensibility about this. So we're gonna add in the eyes. I think that will help to kind of give us a feeling of the overall look of the kitty. So I'm going to take this asphaltum and do the pupil. That to look so white there. So that's one of the problems of laser cutting is that, you know, you get this kind of an outline, and sometimes you don't really know what to do with the outline. Okay, now I need to get I want to get a liner. So I got my liner brush, and I have winter blue. So Siamese cats tend to have true blue eyes, not like a turquoise. So there's so many colors in the Deco Art line that have blue-green tones, but it's sometimes harder to find the ones that have true blue, just straightforward blue. I'm going to put another coat of the asphaltum. So now we want to float with some black. I just want to add in some more darkness in here. And then I want the outside line of this ear to have some asphaltum. Okay, so a little bit of lamp black, my shading brush, and I want to just add in a shade of the lamp black right there to make those pupils darker right there. And then that nose has to be darker. I'm also gonna just tap in a little bit of black on these paws, and then down the tail, anywhere you think that it should be darker, and then a little bit on the ears as well. I might even dip it into that area right there on the mouth. Okay, so now I'm going to use my liner, and I'm going to fill the nose in with black. Oh, see, I ended up going into blue. I was just adding in a little extra black with my liner. Okay, definitely it looks a little bit better once you have the eyes in place. Then, you know, you can see better what your coloration is going to look like. So I'm kind of happy with that now. I want to put a little bit of color in the ears. I'm going to just use a little bit of vintage pink in the ears. Hello, come on down. There we go. All right, So make sure my blender brush is dry, since I was just washing it. Oops. Okay. So it is whimsy, so you could always put like a little bit of color over here, you know. And even you could put a little color into here if you wanted to warm up the tones with your blender. Yeah, still wish I had more blue. Still wish I had more blue. Oh well. Okay, so now we need some warm white, or white, titanium white. Warm white doesn't matter. And I'm going to use our liner. We're going to just add in 3 dots. I want that one to be a little bit more prominent. Then we're just going to add in a little flash point. So I'm not going to bother with like the fur, because we could be here all day just doing fur in the ears and fur here and fur there, but we are just going straight whimsy, and we're not doing fur. Let's get back to her hair and her face. Let's see. Okay, so one of the first things I do when I'm getting ready to do the hair is I'll come along with shading, and I'll set back some of the hair strands first. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Okay, this is something I use a sponge to shade and float. Okay, I'm not sure if this is on Sandy's website yet, but she let me try this out. Normally, I have a kitchen sponge that I use, and for shading that looks like this. It's gross, I know. So I'm very excited about this, and the reason I use a sponge is here in Colorado we do get really dry, and if I use a paper towel, I don't get the right amount of moisture when I shade. So by using a sponge instead of a paper towel, I'm able to control the amount of moisture for my shading purposes. Now, you might live in a much more humid place, and you may not have that issue. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do for the hair is I'm just going to come in and think about where the darkest areas are. So you're going to get this back here. This is a lighter area. This is the area that is behind her neck. And so that is going to be the darkest. The only thing about this is normally you have paint on the end of your brush. So the minute you come over to your sponge, you start depositing paint, which I'm not happy. I don't want to mess that up, but there's no other way to do it. So, so anyway, you're just going to come in here and create darkness in this area here. So we're separating these areas out here. So, and I will return and continue to add in more and more shading. So this won't be the last time that I'm going to shade here with asphaltum. But this is, I'm laying it down to kind of set my parameters and to remind myself and to also build the color. So it reminds me where the shading is supposed to be, where the darker area is supposed to be, but it also will help me build color. So, hi Cheryl. Doing okay. Well, hi Terry. Come on in. Come on in, folks. Okay, so, and of course, like so many of us, we have darker roots. So I just kind of come in and just start this process. Okay, so then, while that's drying, there's a lot of different shades that you can use for skin tone, and you can play around with that. All three of my girls have slightly different skin tone, and I did it purposely just to play around with it, and I wanted each one of them to have their own distinctive look. So I'm just going to jump around a little bit. So this Heart Girl starts with warm beige. Let's see, yeah. So she starts with warm beige, and we're going to do that since she was painted initially with buttermilk. We're going to come back and add in some warm beige. I'm just double checking. Okay, we're going to shade with warm beige to start with. We're going to shade with warm beige. And we can come back with darker shading later, but we're going to start with some warm beige shading. And, you know, you want to think about normally where you would have the darkest color. So up here at the forehead. Okay. Down the side. I've decided that my left side is going to have more shading than my right side. So you can shade it like, if you feel like you want more darker tones on the right side, that's fine too. But just think about places that you need shading. So you definitely want a little bit of shading like underneath or right at the nose, in the nostril. Now, I do more shading later. I come back with like cocoa. I still want to have some shading on the right side, especially because I will come back with darker shading, and I may not do the cocoa on the right side. I'll have to see. And then, of course, you're going to do a lot of shading right here, and then bring it up to the cleavage. This is a sleeve, so just add in a little touch here on the hands. But I will continue to build these colors. So this is just kind of the first go round. So I'm just kind of quasi showing you this now because we won't be able to do a lot in an hour. So unfortunately, and like if you want to shade up here, you can, and we'll just build that. Okay, so now that this is dry on the hair, I'm going to come back and I'm going to take some of my asphaltum and I'm going to add in some strokes. So let's see, let me get a different... Okay, so I'm going to come back and just add in some darker strokes. And I'm going to make it a little bit watery. Hi, Sandra. Welcome in from Southwest Washington. Okay. And I have a lot of photos in my pattern that kind of walk you through what I'm doing. So I'm going to just start adding in some strokes of color. So, and in the classes that I'm offering on March 13th and March 20th, you'll get, you know, the full tutorial of this. So you'll get exactly how you do the hair, exactly how you do the face, how you do the sky. So you'll get everything. In an hour's time, we're not able to do everything. So this is just giving you more of a flavor. But you'll learn the techniques I use for the hair during those classes. And the class is going to be in my group, Artistic Laser Cuts. I know a number of you are already members. It's free to join. I'm offering the video to everyone. Everybody can watch the class, but the pattern is available on my website if you want to paint along. But the classes will be taught in that group. So I'm just going to come back in. I'm just going to play with this. Okay. And so then the next color for the hair, let's see. Oh, okay. I'm going to jump around again. So for the face, I'm going to get Natural Buff. Natural Buff. I've got all my colors pulled, but I don't have them here on the table. I just have them over there on the side. So I'm going to take Natural Buff, and I'm going to do a color wash. So with the color wash, you want to take whatever kind of juicy brush you have. So juicy brush, something that's going to hold moisture. And I'm going to add, you can either add water from your water basin and say pull some of the paint over like this. And the other thing I use with when you're doing color washes is if you have a stiff brush, kind of stiff end, you will use that for blending. So, well, hello, Barb. So I'm going to come over here with the color wash, and I'm going to avoid going into her eye, but it really wouldn't matter if you did. So you can see that first bit of shading that we did is kind of going underneath this, but that's fine. It's kind of, again, we're building, layering colors. So what you end up with isn't going to look like what we're starting with, because we're going to add in so many colors. All right, so then you use this. This is not a mop brush. A mop brush will pick up too much paint. You're trying to blend it. So some of it will move. Let me see, I need a paper towel. So you're not trying to remove everything that you've put down. You're just trying to blend some of the color, because you don't want, like, especially if you're working on a really big area and you're doing color washes, you can get pools and puddles. It will leave like water marks. You don't want that. So that's why you sometimes blend. And we'll go over all these techniques, like I said, in full if you take the class. Hi, Lisbeth. Thanks for coming in. So if you're in the class, and again, the video is free. So even if you're not painting the whimsical seasonal sweethearts, but you want to see some of these painting techniques, the video will be free to you. So you can come in and watch and pick up some techniques and see this in completion. Because like I said, in an hour's time, I can't do a lot. Okay, so again, this is a color wash, and you can determine whether you're getting like water droplets that need to be blended with your stippling brush, or your sash brush, or your domed brush. If you don't have something specific, like the domed brush is more this shape. It's a little bit bigger, but if you don't have something nice and fluffy like that, it's still stiff bristle. A good old stiff dry brush or stencil brush will work great. Okay. All right. So that is, that again was natural blush. And if we go back to her hair, I'm jumping around just to give you an idea of everything. So now I am going to start with some of my lighter tones. So we have antique gold, we have fawn, we have toffee. I just threw that into the paint. So we're just gonna, and every time I do her hair, it looks different. So you just grab some of the colors that you might have and just start playing around with them. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of burlap. And these Lynn Andrews brushes keep a point. So I'm just going to, I've already got natural blush in here. So I'm going to just do this. I'm just going to take a little bit of this. It's not really a color wash because it's got a little bit more consistency. Hi, Penny. Welcome in. And I'm just going to start adding in some strokes. Now, I'm not going to put some of the lighter colors into that dark area. I'm just going to add in strokes here and there. And I'm going to build and build and build. Okay. So then I'm going to grab a little fawn. I'm going to do the same. So these colors, fawn and burlap, are very, 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 very close to one another. Okay, so I'm not getting a huge amount. It's not a true color wash. It's just a little bit liquidy. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to add in some fawn now. I might add just a little bit in here, just for grins. Okay. I'm going to dry. Okay, now I'm going to get some cocoa. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to get a little bit of water. And I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not really cleaning out my brush in between because I'm blending colors. So right now I'm just kind of adding in colors and building. And I'm just using my dirty brush. And I'm just giving her a nice highlight hairstyle. You know, you got to pay good money for these. You know, when you go to the hairdresser, you have some work like this done, it's going to cost you $195. So, hey. And I'm going to, this is a little bit darker, so I'm going to just throw in some streaks here. And we're going to set this back again with a darker color. Okay, so let's see. We're going to throw in, I washed it this time. I'm moving on to antique gold. So if you're like, oh my gosh, that is so streaky. Yes, it is. But we're going to fix all that. But this is the process of building the color. Okay. All right, so say I want to set this shaded area back again. I'm going to take some of that asphaltum I was using earlier. Looks like I've run out. Let me get a bit more. And this time I'm going to do more of a color wash because I don't want it to be milky. I want it to be inky. Okay, so I'm going to set back some of the colors in here even more. So that way we really know where the dark area is. We know where the shaded area is. And then instead you can use your stippler and do that. Or you can use a paper towel and do that. And that picks up some of the puddles. All right. Now, I want some more definition in the shaded area. So I'm going to come back with some cocoa. Sable brown's a good one too. Honey brown, sable brown. Let me try sable brown. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some sable brown. And I don't want it to be a color wash, but I want it to have a little bit of liquid. I'm just going to come in and start adding in some strokes. Okay, and I'd like some of the sable brown in here as well. So I'm just going to add it in here and there, just to build the color. All right. Yeah, I know that's one thing I was saying, Cheryl, when I was chatting with people about them. It is like the paper dolls that we had when we were kids, and I just loved them. And I had so many sets of those things. I thought it was so much fun. You could change the hair, you could change the clothes. It was just great. Okay, so you're seeing that this is kind of getting a bit blotchy in here. So what you would do then, like you want to bring all those strands together. So take one of the colors that you used already. If you want it to be a little bit more blonde, you know, take a lighter color. So I think this one was fawn. I'm going to just use this. Like I said, this is not the way I did it originally, but it doesn't really matter how you do it. You're kind of, what colors you use, it will change each time. Your girl's going to look a little different each time. Okay, so I'm going to bring this color wash of fawn, I think. It's either fawn or burlap. And I'm just going to, it's an inky color wash, and I'm going to bring that in, and that will help to smooth out some of the roughness. And I'm trying to see here. Okay, so then I'm going to take honey brown. So when you're doing color washes, make sure you get it really nice and dry in between. If you want to see more of the streaks, you can come back with the liner and do more streaks. So I'm going to take honey brown. I'm going to do a color wash. My honey brown is off camera, but anyway. So I'm going to go back over the whole thing this time. So the entire... So this is really fun and easy, and you just kind of play with it until you achieve the color definition that you want. So again, this is honey brown. Okay, so now I'm going to take my paper towel and just touch it in places. You can use the stippler, or you can use that to pick up some of the excess that I laid down. Okay, so now it's a little bit more blended. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to get some of the colors like the asphaltum. I'm just going to add in some more strokes. So you can do it as with your liner now to come back in and just start adding in some strokes here and there. Okay, and then some lighter strokes. So I think that one was Cocoa. I keep worrying I'm going to get my shirt in in the paint. So if you want it more definitive lines, a little bit of antique gold here and there. And you just build the color. And if it gets too streaky again, you can come back again with a color wash until you get the colors the way you like them. Okay, so I'm feeling that I need to come back in with a little bit more asphaltum into this area here with my shading brush. Okay. So I'm going to come back in, and I really want this area under her face at her neck to be darker. Try to keep it off of her face. Don't do what I did. And shade and walk it down, walk it out. And I might put more asphaltum there because I really want it to be darker. And, you know, you can kind of think about it and see whether you want to change stuff. Like I might come back in and change some stuff on her hair, playing with those colors. But that's kind of the basic way that I do the hair.
All right, I'm going to use a little bit of cocoa mixed with the warm beige. I just want a slightly heavier shade because we're going to come back with a color wash. So I'm going to use the two of them and blend them. Okay, so that's the sleeve. And just put in a little bit in there. Let me do one more round. So again, I'm mixing cocoa with warm beige. All right. So now she's got some color, but she looks blotchy. I don't know if any of you ever have that in the mornings. You wake up and you're like, oh, I look blotchy. Okay, so then we're going to take, we have sugared peach, which is very light. We have natural buff, which is what a lot of people use. And we have white peach. I like the white peach. I like the white peach. I'm going to try that. And now I'm going to do a color wash of that. Okay. Let me get So now I'm going to take a little bit of the warm beige and my blending brush. I'm just going to go back into some of these areas. I'm going to take a bit of that vintage pink and give her a bit of color in her cheeks. Okay, so we're going to brush in some blush, a little bit of color in there. Okay. And then we're going to take a little bit of the warm beige and natural buff together with our dirty brush. And we're going to go back over this area to blend it. So we like the look. Okay, that still seems a little strong. I'm going to use a little bit more. Okay. Now I want to come back with some highlights under her eyes. So that needs to be the natural buff. So okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to take that vintage pink and I'm going to put it in her lips. Okay. Excellent. All right. So now we need to put in the white of our eyes. So we're going to just do it as a wash. So you can take titanium white, warm white, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to drop that in as a color wash, inky, to the whites. Okay. So when you're dealing with wood, it can just kind of settle into those engraving marks, which is kind of neat. Okay, here we go. So we need, with our liner, we're going to put in a touch of a highlight. Okay. All right, so we need to put in the brow line. And we're going to use sable brown for that. Okay. So we're going to go in with the natural hair direction of eyebrows. Got to get my hand to flick in the right direction. Okay. That's about right. Now, we are going to add in just a little bit extra shading. So we're still using the sable brown, and we just need a little bit more up here. And right up against the neck. And let me see, let me try that. See a section there that I didn't get quite right. And up against, I'm running out of room. She's so long. And her nose needs a little bit. And in her little nostrils, this little area right here, divot. I need to get that straightened out. Let me get a little bit warm beige. Okay, I've got a little touch up here. I'm just fixing that with the warm beige. Okay. Just adding a little bit of warm beige where there was a noticeable line there. Okay, that's better. That's better. Okay, eyes. I'll try it with the brown. Okay. And then we need our black. Grab my shader second. And I'm going to take a little bit of the natural buff that I was using. I want her bottom lip to have a little bit more shine. I think I need a little bit of the cocoa and the antique white. Okay, just gonna dip that into the bottom of the eye to give it a little bit more iridescence. Okay, so we are going to use my thinnest liner brush that I was using a second ago. Okay. Okay. I want to do a little bit extra here. So I'm going to take some of this, trying to remember what I was using, cocoa or, anyway, I'm just going to come in. So, little dots of white, little ones, and then a bigger one. Bigger one. And then gonna do the light. There we go. So now she's got some sparkly count going on. So now I have to figure out what we're going to go pinkish color, because hearts have pink and like, what is that color? Wild raspberry? No. Anyway, I'm going to do some kind of pinkish color. Let me pull some colors. So normally I love vintage pink. I use vintage pink for everything, but we are going more with traditional colors. So that's the range: cotton candy, wild berry, and dragon fruit. I'm kind of feeling it. So I'm going to start with the cotton candy. I'm just going to go ahead and put a coat of this on, full strength, not a color wash, but just full strength ahead. Okay, so remember, these are actually sleeves. Okay, I'm going to go around with dragon fruit and shade. So, let's see.
Okay, so I want to do some dry brushing. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of the cotton candy and the dragon fruit. So that will help me to blend. So in these areas where the shading lines are a little harsh, but I also want to bring in a medium tone that's a little bit darker than just the cotton candy by itself. So cotton candy, dragon fruit, mix it together. Come back in, blend it. Now I'm going to just take some cotton candy, and I still have, this is my dirty brush, so there might be remnants of the other color mix in it, but I want to come back and just want to add in some brightness in places. So it just helps to continue to blend colors. Okay, so then we need to add in some shading that's brown. So I think we're going to use the cocoa. Let's see what that looks like. We also have the sable brown, which we were using. So let's see. I'll try the sable brown. The cocoa's a little light. That's not the, no. Okay. me see if I got a bit of asphaltum. Let's see. We make that area dark. I'm going to try this poodle skirt, which is a different kind of pink altogether. So so that was poodle skirt, and this is baby blush, which is a little bit lighter. Now I'll come back with the poodle skirt. Just add in a little bit of color. So our gesso piece is nice and dry. It really does need a good overnight dry time. Force drying it just doesn't work. and I want to do some dry brushing on it, and you can't have it be damp. Anyway, this is our little heart girl and her little Siamese kitty cat. So those are done. So we're going to put down some Hauser dark green. So I'm going to take a stiff brush. It's not really a dry brush. I believe it's more for oil painting. And I'm going to start coloring the gesso. So this will be our color base. And then on top of it, after it dries, we're going to do some dry brushing of lighter colors. So unlike the sky, which has white fluffy clouds in it, the grass, you don't really want your white to show. You could do this with a soft brush. It's just the gesso can be unkind to your bristles, so that's why I am using this stiffer oil brush. So Dynasty, I don't know what style of Dynasty is, but I'm pretty sure it's one that they use for oils. So, and also the softer brush, it will kind of fill in more, so you start to lose some of your gesso elements. So I just kind of like the scratchy surface that you get, or technique that you get using this. So I'm not really dry brushing. I'm just kind of rubbing it in to the gesso. And try to maintain that hill shape. And you can use a stencil brush too, except it's not, a stencil brush isn't flat, it's round, and you might not get quite as much control. There's inexpensive brushes like this one that I just got off at Amazon. I use it. It's one of the brushes I use when I don't want to ruin my good brushes. So I'm going to dry this. And now what I'm going to do, now that it's dry, is I'm going to use some of these colors. I'm going to start with Festive Green, and then I have New Leaf and Irish Moss, because I want it to look a little bit brighter. So we're going to have this as our base. And now that we have our primary color down, we are going to start with this Festive Green. And we're going to water it down. So now that we have the base, I'm not going to have the same problem I had up here. So basically it's sort of like, don't pay attention to what we did up there. Yeah, that didn't exactly work as planned. So now we're going to put this brighter green on here. Yeah, it's sort of like erase this bit from your memory. So, okay, I'm going to dry this. I am going to apply, now that it's mostly dry, one more round of the Festive Green color wash. and then we will dry that. Okay, so before we start dry brushing on the green, we're going to turn our attention back to the blue area. And these two colors, blue raspberry and calypso blue, I'm going to just kind of start playing around with these. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did down here, except I don't need to be quite as solid because you know, if the white shows through, it's just part of the sky, you know, the clouds. Sorry, sometimes I can't find my words when I'm concentrating on other things. It's like, what am I trying to say? That is a gorgeous color. That is the blue raspberry. Okay, I'm going to stick with the blue raspberry. I'm not going to go to the calypso blue just yet because it's a little bit lighter, and I kind of like these sort of shades that are coming out. I don't want to be quite so wet with my paint when I come over. I'm going to dry that and then try to see whether I want to put more. I'm going to do a second coat of the blue raspberry. And you can also do like stippling too if you want it to go into more of the crevices, or you can apply it kind of in circles. So the stippling is a heavier, you lay the paint down heavier when you do a stipple. I don't think I like it as much with the stippling. I think I like it kind of quasi dry brushing it, except that you're trying to get down into some of the crevices, whereas with dry brushing you stay on the high peaks. With dry brushing, you're not trying to go down to the crevices, the low points. But we're going to come back and do some dry brushing with lighter colors. So it's up to you how much light and darkness that you want to achieve with this color. Like if you like some of the white showing through there, then stop. When you get to the point that you like it, stop. Okay, I'm stopping because I do want some white to show through there. Here, not as much. So, okay. So I'll dry that again. So we're going to begin dry brushing the grass first. So you just need to get a dry brush that's a bit bigger. So this is a number 12. And so we were using the festive green, and now this is just slightly lighter. It's the new leaf. And then for a pop on the top, we're going to use the Irish moss. So when you're dry brushing, load up your brush, take a lot of the color off, come back here. That is not really picking up much color. That is a slow process. I can see some of it. Interesting. I can see some of it, but it's really not wanting to lay down. Let's try something. I'm going to get a craft sponge. Okay, so back to the new leaf. Usually, with all the high points on here, we should really be seeing some changes going on. Okay, I'm using the sponge. I'm lightly touching down. I'm not putting a lot of pressure. I think part of it is that even though the festive green is a good amount darker, the problem is everything is being like taken up by the gesso. The gesso is like sucking up color. I think I might. All right, I'm starting to see that new leaf coming through. It's just, the gesso is really, it's soaking up everything I'm putting down. Okay, I'm starting to see it now. Okay, I'm going to go back to the festive green because I had been using the new leaf. I just want to add in a little bit of festive green with my dirty brush, and I'm going to go back and I'm just going to build. So we're going to go back and forth between these colors until we're starting to get a look of layered greens. Okay, that's probably enough of that festive green, so I can go back to my new leaf now, which has a little bit more yellow tone in it, plus it's a little lighter than the festive. So the color is building nicely in the green grass, and we're gonna move up to the next color. So we were started with festive green, then we went to leaf green, new leaf. And now we're gonna add in a little bit of Irish moss. So still dry brushing. a slightly wetter brush. I'm gonna, because I want to see its magic going across these high points. So I just wanted to add in a little bit wetter paint. But you have to do it carefully so that you don't end up just having streaks of wet paint. You want it to still look like dry brushing, but I just want more emphasis of it. So, and again, we're just trying to lay it down onto the high points. We're not pushing down into the lower valleys of the paint. So you can really see how it's bringing out those tones. So now I'm going to get even a brighter color than that. So let me grab it. So I grabbed the citron green, which is, you can see, it's a big jump. So we're going to use this sparingly, but we do want some. You could also like do a yellow as well. So I'm not changing my brush. I'm just, basically you've mixed colors. So, okay. So we're going to come back over here, and if you have a lot of paint in your brush, moisture, you want to approach lightly. You don't want to be too aggressive if you have a lot of paint. Okay, I'm going to need to reload that because a lot of the color was still the previous Irish moss. So I'm still using the same brush, but now when you blend the color, it will be slightly lighter. Okay. Now there's a lot of dimension. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm not 100% sure I need to do it one more time, but as these paints dry, they're going to be absorbed by the gesso more and more. So I'm going to come back with one more application of the citron green. All right, I think that probably is us done on those. So now we're going to concentrate on the blues. So I am going to use the, I started with the blue raspberry, and now I'm going to move to the Calypso blue, which is lighter, but it's also a little bit duller and a little bit more opaque, which I definitely like the blue raspberry, but let's see what this is like on top. So, because we can always come back and layer the colors by revisiting a color. So you can do this Calypso, but then you can always come back to the blue raspberry, and you can layer and build colors till you get a tone that you like. This is a pretty big surface, so you're using quite a bit of paint doing this. This So that definitely tones it down a little bit. I'm curious if I come back with the blue raspberry as another layer. Let's see what happens. So that's the blue raspberry on top of the Calypso, and I'm not changing my brush. So you're not really losing all of the tone from the previous round since you're using your dirty brush. Oops, don't get in the grass. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. And I'm going to come back with a little bit of the Calypso and finish it off. So the raspberry, blue raspberry, is brighter, and the Calypso definitely is more muted. They work really nice together. Okay, so now, so that's our basic blue. Now we need to, we're going to add some lighter colors to the highlights. So we are going to jump to, this is a huge jump, Calypso blue to Bahama blue. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can find a mid-tone. I am going to look. 1 second. Here we go. So here are some colors. So we started with the blueberry, and then we went to Calypso. So we started with those two colors, blueberry, Calypso. And then this is turquoise blue, which is a step down from the Calypso. So Calypso, turquoise blue. And then for the lighter tones, we have aqua sky or Bahama blue. I think I like aqua sky better, but put that aside. Okay, so we're going to add in a little bit of the turquoise blue. And we're using our dirty brush. So it builds in layers tones. Okay. Okay, I'm going to introduce the lighter color, which is the aqua sky. Into my dirty brush. So I had a wetter brush just for grins, just to kind of get that look. So when you're dry brushing, you can kind of play around with that. Like if you're trying to get a stronger color, they always say use a super dry brush. Well, sometimes if you can control it, you can get some nice looks by having it slightly wetter. So now we've got lots of different shades going on. I kind of feel like I want something even lighter than the aqua sky. And that would be something like turquoise or crystal blue. So I'm going to look at that. So I pulled Whispering Turquoise. So That was Aqua Sky, and that's Whispering Turquoise, because I want something significantly lighter on the sky. So be careful with this one. You don't want to, go over there and go, oh my goodness, look at that. So I'm going to try to get a lighter color. I do have a slightly wetter brush here because I'm wanting to see this as I lay it down. So that's one thing about when you do the gesso, you definitely can use it to your advantage when you're dry brushing. If you have a flat surface, you don't ever get this effect. You can do it with stencils too, like create relief with your stencils. Yeah, it needed that. Okay, so it's very, very multi-dimensional and has layers and layers of color on it. Perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. So we can add in a shade here if we feel like it, or we can let it use what we've created here. I'm not 100% sure. You can shade all the way around if you want, but I don't know if I want. I have to wait and see. Okay, so I need to go ahead and give myself an idea of where everything is going to go. It's thin. Ironically, this goes faster than that pen. Then you just have to keep track of where you've been. With the pen, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can fix your hearts to be more perfect after, if you're going to be painting them. So you have a couple of different things that you can do. You can use the scrapbook paper, designer paper, cutouts, or you could use watercolor paper, or you could paint directly onto the surface. So I'm not going to put that one on because I know where it goes, and I'm not painting. I'm using I'm going to use my parts. So some of them will be in the foreground, and some of them will be in the background. She's going to go right about there in the middle. Okay, so I am trying to figure out which ones I want to be in the foreground and which ones I want in the background, because you don't want every one of them to be popping up with the wood pieces. So I'm just matching up some of my cutouts to the hearts, and then I'm going to decoupage those. So that one probably needs to be in the foreground. I think that fits. I don't know if maybe one, instead of having one here, might do that one raised. Okay. I think that's all of them. So and now I have most of them mostly straight, I have some of them maybe turned a little bit, but because we're going to create stems coming from the hearts, that we want them to be somewhat straight so that their stems come down straight. So what we need to do is we're gonna do our stems and leaves before we put the hearts down, but we want to kind of remember what we've got going here. So I'm gonna put them together in some kind of order, and I'm going to set them aside. Okay, so now we want to try to do as straight a lines as possible. You can eye it, or you can use a ruler, so that's up to you. So there's one there. So they have to go into the hill to some degree. Okay, so I got a little one here. So it's going to go there. And then there's just a small one here. It's just going to have a tiny little stem. And then this one here is going to go in. Okay. I'm starting to lose my heart in there too. Okay, and then this one is coming all the way down. Then we have this one, and we have this one very close by. Pretty much all of them. Now, we need a liner, and it doesn't have to be a super thin liner. It can be a bit, not quite so thin, because we want the line to show. So that's a 0. Okay. So we're going to use the Hauser dark green to put down our stems. I'll add some light and shade to them as well. Just have to let them dry. We are going to go ahead and decoupage these hearts onto the wood pieces that we need. So these are the ones that we've already determined need wood, and our foreground hearts. So I'm going to use soft matte gel, and there's other products that do a similar thing, like DecoArt has their own matte gel as well. So, and you could glue these on too, but I'm going to more decoupage them. Sometimes if you use glue, the glue will pull really quickly before everything is dry, or not before everything is dry, but it will dry so quickly that you can't move the piece around if you get it slightly off, and then it tears. So this stuff is a little bit more forgiving for moving things around. And I'm hoping I've got this on correctly. I'm not sure that's the right... I've got it on the wrong side. It does make a difference. That explains why it was not lining up. Then, if you need more, put more down. But you also can put it on the outside of the hearts, and it will add extra protection. It will be a slightly different finish than the varnish you might be using on your canvas. Okay, so when I said I had that backwards, I will show you on this one. Okay, so this has some burned edges. This is the front, and that is the back. And the back, you sometimes will get like these little flame up areas. Normally my fronts don't have quite so much kind of brownish burnt color on the edges, but this one did when I cut it. You can also put a little bit on. See what I mean about the backs having these little flame ups? So make sure that you're putting these on correctly, the right side, because otherwise the hearts are not the same on the left and the right, and it will not fit properly if you don't get the sides correct. Okay, back side, front side. And again, if you don't like the scrapbook paper, you can just paint these hearts. You know, pick up some of the colors that we've already used. So we use like poodle skirt pink, and we used wild berry and dragon fruit. Baby blush. So you don't want to, and so like the wild berry was the kind of reddish color. So you kind of want to stay with some of the same tones that you've already got in the girl that we painted. So we were using more, like if you go red, it's going to be more the pinkish side of red. You don't want to go to the warm tones. So the other thing I forgot to mention is, oops, hello. Don't use your best brush for this, because this matte medium can be very hard to get out. You don't want to mess up the fibers of your good brushes. Last one. Okay. Then when you're done with this, make sure you stop and wash your brush. So even if it isn't your best brush, you don't want to, end up having to throw it away. Okay, so hopefully those will all dry and stick down and not pull up. And all right, I'm going to wash my brush. So back to our stems. We're just going to run a bit of asphaltum or burnt umber down the sides, and then we're going to do a highlight on the other side. So we're going to run the asphaltum down the right side. It can be the left side, it doesn't matter. We just want to give, this is whimsy, we're not supposed to be like super perfect or anything, but we just want to give the illusion of a bit of a shade. Okay, I'm just trying to find the right brush, because I'm not going to use a shading brush. Good. Okay, let me see. I'll use this one. I want to water it down. So I don't want it to be thick. So I'm watering it down to a little bit of a color wash and just dragging it. All right. Back at it. If it goes on the outside, that's fine. It just will look a little bit like a drop shadow. So we're not looking for anything perfect. This is just a whimsical flower stem. Okay, so now we're going to add a highlight, and we are going to do that one. We're not going to water that one down, and that one is going to be done with the Irish moss. Okay, so taking the Irish moss, and we don't want a full line up the left side. We just want to hit spots here and there. Just enough to catch the eye. could go back over it if there's any spots that you want to be brighter. So now we need to put on some little leaves. And we can just try to put these on like one stroke. So anyway, you don't need a lot of them, just here and there. So what I'm going to do, I'm not very good at one stroke. So if I can do it, you can do it. I haven't had classic training. So I'm just going to, this is Irish moss and that's a bit of citron. I'm just going to put some of that, and then I'm going to put the dark color there and work it through. Okay. So I'm going to act like I know what I'm doing here. I'm going to put a leaf there. Oh, well, yeah, that's not going to show there, is it? It's only going to show up here in the sky. Duh. Okay, I'm going to flip that. Whoops. Little hearts. I think I want one close by. So I'm using this Lynn Andrews floater, but you can use a round or however you tend to do these leaves. Some people do them with a flat brush. Okay, I need to reload. Okay, so down here, I basically need just the darker color. Otherwise, it is not going to show up. Okay. So remember, it's whimsy. It's not, we're not doing anything like super serious here. It's not supposed to look like some kind of masterpiece. Jump around a little bit if you want. Okay, good enough. And that's really all you have to do with the leaves. So, they're suggestions. They're leaf suggestions. Okay, so let's see how this is starting to look. Now that this stuff dries pretty fast, the soft matte medium, it dries pretty fast, so, but the paint doesn't, so I want to go ahead and dry that. Okay, I'm going to put a bit of a shade underneath the hearts before I put the hearts down. So kind of ran out. I was trying to squeak it out. It's like, last one. Nope, I gotta reload. Okay. So just some softness going on. Some soft shading. Okay. So now, I think I'm ready to start gluing down some of these hearts. Actually, before I do that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and spray, fix, and then varnish this piece. So I'm going to use my Spectre Fix. So I'm going to start with the final fix to fix it. So I'll do like 2 coats of this, because I've already put a coat of varnish on her and the kitty cat. So I'm going to work on the canvas, and then the hearts already have a finish on them. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and that needs a little time to dry. All right, so I have varnished this lightly. I probably could have done more, but I'm kind of wanting to get this going. So I'm going to come back now and apply the soft matte gel on the hearts that are flat. So I want to get them down before I do the next step. So again, I'm going to use a really yucky brush, an icky brush, and use my soft matte gel. And again, I'm using it instead of glue because it's designed for decoupage, but also sometimes my glue will stick immediately and I don't get any work time with it. And this is glue. I mean, it's decoupage paste, but it's also glue. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of it right on the top. And I'm going to just glide that around in places because the finish of the soft matte gel is very specific. And I don't want it just to be relegated to that heart. I want to spread it around so your eye won't think, oh, there's a strange sealant that's just where the heart is. So and you kind of need to go over the top of this decoupage paste, not just have it underneath the heart. It helps to seal the edges. So I will do it over the top there. It's going to seal the edges, and then I'm going to just roughly go over some places so we have it spread around. And I'll see what it looks like after it's dry, if I feel like I need to come back and add any more of this soft matte gel just to make it look like it's spread across the canvas and not just on the hearts. So, because all of these hearts have already been done. Okay. So now I'm going to use my art glitter glue to glue this stuff down. Okay, I guess I will put her down. Okay, measure that just to see how, if she's pretty centered. So so we're 8 3/4. Cannot do math. So she should be, I think she's about right. That would be right about there. I think that's about center. She certainly looks level, so that's good. She's pretty centered, pretty close to being spot on. And her little friend. Okay, so I'm going to put something heavy on top of her so that the glue will the glue will hit all the lows and the highs of this. So I'm going to dry her now. I'm going to use my gold pen just to, since there's gold in this paper, I was just going to add in a little bit of gold in places. So I'm going to add in a little bit of gold on some of these leaves. Maybe not on all of them. Because remember, it is whimsy. So it's all pretend. It's all pretend. Yeah, that looks better with having the gold on the leaves. I like that. I'm just trying to think if I want the gold somewhere else. I could do it on our dress, but I think I'm going to do glitter. Okay, I have another leaf to put, heart to put on. Okay. Let me put this on the back. Double check that that's gonna work. Yep. Okay. So then I need to put glue on half of this. Some glue on there. And that should do it. So put it right about there. Oh, there is no stem coming down off of that one. I will have to fix that. Have to go out just a little bit so I can get a stem in. Okay, well, put a quick stem in.